So we got a little bit. So we got some Patriots news. I always love talking about the Patriots, and this time it's Robert Kraft making a comment because not too long ago, Bill Belichick made a comment about how the Patriots were the 27th team in cash spending, which is pretty interesting. And Greg Bedard from NBC Sports Boston he asked Kraft about it, and this was Kraft's response. He said, Bill Belichick has never come to me and not gotten everything he wanted from a cash spending perspective. We have never set limits. Money spending will never be the issue, I promise you, or I will sell the team. Some strong words from the Patriots owner.
Yeah.
Because he said he'll never sell the team. He's going to stay in his family as long as he's alive, at least. So I want to know, do you think the Patriots have done enough to surround Mac Jones with enough talent to succeed in the NFL?
I would say no.
Oh.
No, I don't think so. I think that with DeAndre Hopkins and Dalvin Cook out there, you got to go get one or both. I think that's definitely what they should do. And I think Belichick ought to go see Kraft and say, you know what? Put your money where your mouth is. That's what we want. We want to do that. And I do think that this back and forth, I think Belichick started it by saying, we've been 27th, right? Well, that's over 3 years. If you look at each year, the 2 years were low. 1 year was very high.
Yeah.
And the 1 year that was very high, they didn't pick the players that well, right? They didn't get the greatest players there. Judon was a good pickup. And what's his name? The guy from
Hunter
the Rams.
Henry? Oh.
Hunter Henry was good. And one more, the other wide receiver from the Rams.
Rams?
Kendrick Bourne.
Kendrick 49ers.
49ers, sorry. Yeah. So they got three players out of that, but not all of them. All the money they spent there, it didn't really pan out all that well. So I think there's a rift between Belichick and Kraft, and it's not good. I think winning solves all those problems, but if they don't win, I don't know. Belichick could have an issue.
You think Belichick's the one that? So what do you mean? Like Kraft will fire
fire him?
Well, I don't think he'll fire him over the fact that they don't spend enough money. I think it'll be over the fact that
it's winning. It's going to be winning. If they don't make the playoffs next year,
Kraft is going to be pissed off.
He's but you know what? It's going to be really hard because they have one of the hardest schedules in the league.
Right.
So I think it'll be tough on Belichick. I don't think that he deserves to be fired, even if they had a poor season. I don't think he deserves to be fired after all he's done for that franchise and being one of the winningest coaches in NFL history, being the greatest defensive mind in NFL history. I don't think you fire a guy like that, even if he has a few bad years. And you did have the greatest quarterback of all time playing for you, and he was drafted by Bill Belichick.
That is true.
So I think that there's a lot to be owed there in terms of what Belichick has done for the franchise, but the NFL is a what have you done for me lately
that is true
league. So I don't know. I think Belichick needs to really do well this year. I think he has to be close in the games. He can't get blown out in a bunch of games. It's going to have to. Those games are going to be close, and he's got to win a good chunk of them. So it's going to be very challenging.
So I'm going to ask you this before I jump in here. As a longtime Patriots fan, would you rather them go out and get, if you had to choose between one or the other, would you rather DeAndre Hopkins or would you rather Dalvin Cook to back up or be in front of Ramondre Stevenson?
I'd take Hopkins.
Take Hopkins, okay. Yeah. Well, my take on this is I have been critical of Bill Belichick for the past about year to 2 years since Brady left. And Cam Newton, I'm not going to entirely blame Belichick and the Patriots offense with Cam Newton. They weren't ready. I'm sure at least Robert Kraft and maybe a little bit of Bill Belichick expecting Tom Brady to potentially take a pay cut and stay with the team. That just wasn't the case. So the 2020 season, to me, it is what it is. Cam Newton had his moments. It looked great. COVID may have screwed him up a little bit. It seemed like he was never the same player after COVID. So I'm not going to put him on the 2020 season. 2021 is where I started Bill Belichick's timer for me. How fast could the greatest coach of all time, and especially the greatest defensive mind of all time in NFL history, how can he get this team back on track? And it started off pretty well. because he got Mac Jones, who was a very Tom Brady-esque build to him and not a very athletic and mobile quarterback. He has a pretty decent arm to good arm, depending on his system, depending on who's his coach. You still had Josh McDaniels, who could have taken a head coaching job but decided to stay. So you had a lot of pieces, and Mac Jones actually performed very well. One of the best rookie seasons in NFL history. They went 10-7 and made the playoffs. They got crushed in the playoffs because they couldn't stop Josh Allen. And then the main problem I saw was in 2022 in the offseason when they decided to sign Joe Judge and Matt Patricia, who each got fired from their head coaching jobs on the Giants and on the Lions, respectively, and put them as offensive coaches when they really haven't touched offense or have called offense or coached offense in their entire lives. Which made no sense. And it was supposedly because, Belichick likes to re-sign or likes to sign coaches that he either knows, who he drafted, or his own kin, his own family. He has a couple of his children as coaches on the Patriots. And, the season as I called very early on and before training camp, I said the season's going to be a disaster. And it turned out to be, a disaster. So no one should have been surprised, and neither should I. It seems like if Belichick he's had a very, very long history of not being able to draft offensive pieces correctly, at least from wide receivers and tight ends. Offensive linemen, he always drafts. Running backs, he always drafts. So that to me is not a problem. You got Ramondre Stevenson, who seems like a very, very valuable piece, and your offensive line was okay, could be much better. But wide receivers and tight ends, he's had a very, very tough struggle with. So what you need to do? You go buy pieces, and that's what he did a couple off seasons ago when he got Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith never really fit into the system. They didn't know how to use a 2 tight end set. I would have preferred you keep him for this season, see how he does with Bill O'Brien. It turned out to be cap issues, so the Patriots got off him. It is what it is. You got Mike Gesicki as a backup tight end anyway. So we'll see exactly how they look this season. But my problem is, you want to go out and you want to spend money on players and on positions you can't draft. Belichick can't draft receivers and can't draft tight ends. So he went out, bought Hunter Henry. He went out, got Mike Gesicki. You drafted Tyquan Thornton, who seemingly has a lot of upside, according to, Patriots insiders. And
played terribly last year.
He did not have a great year last year. He was a rookie. He was playing with a horrible system in Mac Jones. We should see an uptick this year. Yeah. I didn't like the role he was in. He was playing a lot of wide receiver 2 and 3. He's a rookie. You had Kendrick Bourne. At the time, you had Nelson Aguilar. You had other pieces that were better, and he didn't play as much.
I don't think Nelson Aguilar was not better.
No, you
could
argue
he was a
it.
very poor receiver, and I don't know why he was one of the ones they picked up with all that money they spent.
Yes.
I think he was a mistake.
It was okay, not good, not great. He was okay.
He made some mistakes that cost him games.
No, he made a couple, but I'm pretty sure he did catch Mac Jones' first touchdown in the NFL. I think it was against the Dolphins week 1. I think he threw it to the left side. Wow. But regardless. So my sort of opinion would be, go out, you want to spend money, spend some money. If you're 27th in the league out of 32 teams, there's a problem when Kraft is a multi-billionaire and the Patriots are one of the most, wealthy franchises in sports history. I think the Cowboys are only above them by about $1 billion or so. So go out and spend money. DHop, he's 33 years old. He still could be one of the best wide receivers in the league, depending on, whether or not he has that juice left. And Dalvin Cook is a consistent 1,000-yard running back, which I'm still surprised.
I'd go get both of those guys, particularly given how hard their schedule is.
Right.
At least they show they're trying.
For me,
show that they're really trying to compete. If they don't get one or two or both of those guys, what's it say to the fans? I think that they're in a very, very competitive division, and they have one of the hardest schedules in the league. So I don't think they've got they need to. There's an opportunity to get better, and Kraft says the money's there, so go get those players. Why not?
I think there's an opportunity to be much better because the Patriots, their wide receivers are not fast receivers. They could be good, yards after catch receivers, which, a Devontae Parker, who is not a great separator, but once he gets the ball, he has a little bit of movement to him. He can get by some defenders. He can get you a lot of yards. Kendrick Bourne, he's one of those go guys. Tyquan Thornton is supposed to be your explosive vertical wide receiver, but he's a young receiver, so he needs to learn the NFL speed, get adapted, and that's why we should see an uptick now. You get DeAndre Hopkins, teams are going to have to double DeAndre Hopkins. That means that Kendrick Bourne or Devontae Parker or Tyquan Thornton, they'll be in single coverage where you have a higher chance to beat them. So you're not dropping 7 back where you could double team maybe 2 receivers or really crowd the middle area. You have an opportunity where a team could double DeAndre Hopkins alone, and that could leave openings to the run game. It could leave openings to other receivers to be more successful. Now, for me, it was a great point. I was told this point before. A 2 running back system only works for certain teams and certain schemes. When you have a terrible quarterback like Baker Mayfield was on the Browns, he had a really good season, he played a terrible schedule, got lucky in the playoffs against Big Ben, who was washed by a long shot at that point. But it only really worked for the Browns with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb because guess what? They played 2 different styles of running back. Kareem Hunt was an elusive back and a receiving back. Nick Chubb was a powerful back who could also get free and use his speed. So Kareem Hunt was the receiving back, Nick Chubb was the primary back, and that's kind of how it worked. Ramondre Stevenson, he's sort of an all-around back. I would say he's mostly a bull back. But you had
he can catch the ball. He caught over 50 passes.
Right, no, he can catch the ball as well. And Dalvin Cook still has, I wouldn't say maybe not as good catching ability as Ramondre Stevenson, but he can still catch the ball pretty effectively. But he's another all-around back, so it wouldn't really work as efficiently or as effectively as maybe, if Dalvin Cook goes to maybe the Saints, where Alvin Kamara is a very good receiving back, and he's a very good, quick running back, not as much of a contact back where you can just bull through players like a Nick Chubb or maybe even like a Dalvin Cook. So for me, both running backs wouldn't make 100% sense, but if you can get him cheap, there you go. I would get him if you can get him cheap. If you can get Zeke at a large discount, I would go for it. He could be your short yardage back. I think he had double-digit touchdowns last season. You put him in the red zone where the Patriots were terrible in, absolutely horrible in the red zone. Zeke is a short yardage back now. Put him in. He can get you 2-3 yards down the goal line. Have him barrel through players to get to the end zone. DHop gives you the wide receiver threat. Another running back. I don't think Pierre Strong is going to be your running back 2 against an offensive line that is not great. Could be much better. So if for me personally, I would go get DHop. If you can get Dalvin Cook or Zeke at a large discount, I would go get both of them and see where it could be.
The reason I like Dalvin Cook there is running back's a tough position. He's easy, a lot of injuries in that position.
Right.
And having 2 really good running backs can help you get through the season with a good running back all the time on the field.
Well, Damian Harris was dealing with an injury. He's been dealing with injuries over the past couple seasons.
He's gone.
Right. What I'm saying is that's why Ramondre Stevenson stepped up in that running back 1 spot, showed what he could do.
Yeah, but he got a lot of work.
Right, and he was saying he was feeling it.
And he got hurt.
Week 14.
He got hurt. He actually got hurt, but he continued to play.
Right, he was dealing with injuries. And so Pierre Strong and then I keep forgetting his name.
Another Harris.
Kevin Harris.
Kevin Harris.
He came in and he needed to be a running back. And those guys are special teams guys. And J.J. Taylor, he's like a 5'6" running back.
Yeah.
He's not all that great. So you're going to have guys that are special teams guys back up a pretty good running back in Ramondre Stevenson.
That's why I think they should get Dalvin Cook.
If you can get him at a discount, I completely agree with you. But if you're going to have to spend
Kraft's saying he's willing to open the checkbook.
If you got to spend $13 million on a running back that could be dealing with injuries all the time, I don't know if it's exactly worth it. I really don't.
You're sounding like Bill Belichick then. You want to be very cost effective here. Kraft is saying, I'll open the checkbook if necessary.
Hey, I've been over here for the past couple of seasons going, get OBJ, get DeAndre Hopkins. I'm saying these receivers are available. Go get them.
Yeah, well, Hopkins is there for the taking right now.
And I think they should 100% jump on that.
If you're going to go one of the 2 players, Hopkins should be the one.
Wide receiver is their huge hole. It's like a nuclear crater in their offense. Running back is, maybe like a shotgun slug hole. Maybe. Not that big, but, it could cause some problems.
They did very well last year, particularly given they didn't have they had no creativity on their offense.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah.
It was very, very bad. So
should be much better this year, I would think.
The offensive line still gives me a little bit of pause. We'll see if Bill O'Brien and Belichick signed the Oregon coach as their offensive line coach.
Yeah.
So we'll see how the offensive line works. We don't know if it should be better. I hope it's better. But we will see coming up next year. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, if you want to check out the full episode, make sure you click the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to listen to this show anywhere you go, make sure you go to anchor.fm/The Harvey Hour or anywhere you get your podcasts.